Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit, and the missing necklace. It was a sunny morning in Pinecone Forest, and Benny Bear was setting up a picnic blanket in the meadow. "Strawberry jam sandwiches," he called. Ruby Rabbit popped out of a patch of clover, ears bouncing. "My favourite!" She skipped over wearing a sparkly blue bead necklace, the one her grandmother had given her last spring. "I love that necklace," Benny said as they sat down. Ruby smiled proudly. "Me too. Granny Rabbit made it with forest glass and lucky stones." They spread out the food: jam sandwiches, honey muffins, carrot sticks, and raspberry tea. Birds chirped overhead and bees buzzed around the flowers. But just as Ruby reached for her tea, she froze. "My necklace," she gasped. "It's gone." Benny's eyes widened. "Maybe it slipped off." Ruby scrambled to her feet. "We have to find it." Together they searched the picnic blanket. Nothing. They combed through the clover patch. Still nothing. "We'll retrace our steps," Benny said. They followed the path back through the meadow, past the old oak, and around the babbling brook. "I remember skipping right here," Ruby said, "and then I twirled by the mushrooms." They looked near the mushroom circle. No necklace. Ruby's ears drooped. "What if it's gone forever?" Benny placed a gentle paw on her shoulder. "It's not just a necklace, is it?" Ruby nodded. "Granny gave it to me when I was feeling brave. It reminds me of her hugs." Benny nodded. "Then we'll keep looking." Just then they spotted Marvin Mouse waving from a patch of grass. "Looking for this?" he squeaked, holding something shiny. Ruby gasped. It was her necklace. "I saw something sparkle near the fern tunnel," Marvin explained. "I picked it up so it wouldn't get stepped on." Ruby gave him the biggest rabbit hug she could. "Thank you, Marvin." Back at the meadow, Ruby gently placed the necklace around her neck again. Benny smiled. "It suits you even more now." "Why's that?" Ruby asked. "Because now it's part of a new story, one with friends, determination, and a lucky mouse." They finished their picnic, and Ruby added something new to her basket, a little pouch, just for the necklace when she's not wearing it. "I won't let it out of my sight again," she giggled. The sun dipped low as they lay in the grass, full of sandwiches and sunshine. And as the day turned golden, Benny and Ruby held hands and watched the sky, grateful for small treasures and even greater friendships. Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit, and the Starry Visitor. It was a quiet evening in Pinecone Forest. Fireflies blinked in the tall grass, and the stars were beginning to twinkle above the trees. Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit were sitting on a log behind Benny's den, wrapped in blankets and sipping warm cocoa. "Look," Ruby pointed. "There's the big pinecone constellation." Benny squinted. "And there's the leaping rabbit." Just then, a streak of silver light shot across the sky, a falling star, brighter than anything they'd ever seen. "Whoa," Benny whispered. "Did you make a wish?" "I was too amazed," Ruby said. "Let's go see where it landed." They grabbed a lantern and set off through the forest. The trail glowed with moonlight, and the air felt electric, like something magical was nearby. Soon they reached the ferny glade, and there in the center was a glowing silver pebble. It pulsed softly like a sleeping heartbeat. Next to it sat a tiny creature with sparkly fur, pointy ears, and wings that shimmered like moonlight. "Hello," the creature said in a soft, musical voice. Benny blinked. "Hi." Ruby leaned forward. "Are you from the sky?" The creature nodded. "I'm Twiller, a starhopper. I ride falling stars to visit other worlds." "Wow," Ruby breathed. "You must have come a long way." Twiller smiled. "It's my first solo hop, but I think I missed my mark. I'm not sure how to get home." "We'll help you," said Benny immediately. Ruby nodded. "Let's start with snacks. Snacks always help us think." Back at Benny's den, they gave Twiller honey biscuits and warm clover tea. Twiller nibbled happily, then showed them the glowing pebble. "It's a starstone," she said. "It powers my way home, but it needs to be recharged with light and laughter." Light and laughter? Ruby asked. We've got plenty of that. So the three friends spent the whole next day gathering sunshine and silliness. They played tag through the flower fields, sang silly songs on the log bridge, and danced in circles around the fireflies at dusk. By evening, the starstone glowed so brightly it lit up the whole meadow. It's ready, Twila said softly. Time to go. Benny and Ruby walked her back to the ferny glade. Twila placed the stone on the ground, touched it with her paw, and a beam of silver light spiraled upward like a ribbon. She turned to them. Thank you for the laughter. I'll never forget it. Ruby gave her a bracelet made of grass and clover. To remember us. Benny handed her a muffin wrapped in a napkin. For the trip. Twila giggled and hugged them both. You two are the kindest creatures I've ever met. Then, with a twirl and a shimmer, she stepped into the beam of light and vanished, whoosh, into the stars. Benny and Ruby stood there for a long moment staring at the sky. Do you think we'll ever see her again? Benny asked. Ruby smiled. I think when the stars shine just right, maybe. They walked home in the moonlight, paws brushing, hearts full of wonder. And far above, a new star twinkled, just a little brighter than the rest. Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit, and the mystery of the funny footprints. It was a crisp morning in Pinecone Forest. Benny Bear was out for a stroll, enjoying the sound of leaves crunching under his big furry feet. He was just about to stop at the berry patch when he spotted something strange. Huh, Benny said, scratching his head. There, in the soft dirt, were footprints, but not normal ones. They were shaped like tiny triangles with swirls at the end, almost like someone had been hopping while spinning in circles. Ruby Rabbit bounced up behind him. What's the hold-up, Benny? Take a look, he said, pointing. Ruby crouched down. Those are the silliest footprints I've ever seen. Benny nodded. And they go that way. The two friends followed the trail as it wound through the forest, up a mossy hill, and around the old wishing stump. This is turning into a proper mystery, Ruby said. Detective Rabbit is on the case. And so is Deputy Bear, Benny added. They crept along the trail until the footprints suddenly stopped. Right in front of a big tree stump with mushrooms growing around it. Ruby scratched her chin. Either the creature vanished into thin air, or it's hiding. Benny leaned closer. Hello, is someone there? The stump gave a tiny sneeze. Achoo! Benny and Ruby jumped. Then from behind the mushrooms out popped a small creature wearing a blue feathered hat, oversized glasses, and boots made of leaves. Well, hello, it said cheerfully. Didn't mean to startle you. Ruby blinked. Who are you? The creature grinned. Name's Nib. I'm a giggle sprite. A what? Benny asked. A sprite. I travel from forest to forest, spreading laughter. My job is to leave silly footprints, tickle sleeping squirrels, and mix up the bird songs just a tiny bit. Ruby giggled. So you're the reason the robins were singing like frogs this morning. Guilty, Nib said with a bow. I visit once a year to cause some cheerful confusion. Benny chuckled. Well, you've definitely confused us. Nib winked. Perfect. Now I just need to make one last stop before I move on. Ruby's eyes sparkled. Can we come with you? Of course, said Nib. The more the merrier. The trio trotted off, following a side path to a quiet glade where the elder hedgehogs were having their weekly nap circle. They're so peaceful, Benny whispered. Time to change that, Nib whispered back with a grin. He tiptoed forward and gently placed a pinecone under each hedgehog's paw. Then he scattered tickle petals, which look like regular petals but make you sneeze giggle, all around the grass. Now we wait, Nib said. A moment later, choo! Hey! Hey! Oh my! One hedgehog woke up sneezing, tickled by the petal. Another rolled over and bumped into the pinecone, sat up, and laughed. Did someone bring snacks? In seconds, the nap circle turned into a giggle fest. Even the grumpy Mr. Thistle was chuckling. Benny and Ruby couldn't help but laugh too. "That was amazing," Ruby said. Nib nodded. "A little laughter goes a long way." As the sun began to dip, Nib reached into his satchel and pulled out a tiny whistle shaped like a butterfly. "Time for me to flutter on," he said. "But I'll be back next season with new tricks." "Will we remember it's you?" Benny asked. Nib handed them a tiny scroll. "This tells the story of the day you solved the case of the funny footprints. Read it when you need a giggle." Then with a gust of wind and a swirl of leaves, Nib vanished, just poof into the trees. Ruby stared at the empty spot. "That was the weirdest and most wonderful day ever." Benny nodded. "And we got our giggles in, thanks to a sprite in boots." They walked home, their cheeks sore from smiling and their hearts light. As they reached Benny's den, Ruby unrolled the scroll. Inside were tiny doodles of the whole adventure, including one of Benny and Ruby, laughing beside a trail of silly footprints